We advise the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
The United States of America just finished with its elections, and now they have a second-term president, a Democratic president from the Democratic Party. Only the second Democratic president who has been elected to a second term. The other one was Clinton, and that is in our generation. So, of course, the Philippines is still living with its umbilical cord with the U.S. And the question now is, how will Obama be for the Philippines? Will he be a boom and a boon, or will he bomb the Philippines? Not in the literal sense of the bomb that the U.S. has been doing all over the rest of the world, but the economic bomb for the Philippines, which we will explain later. Our two guests we tried to gather for this occasion because we have not been together. We sometimes call ourselves the Trio Los Panchos, and our staff here remember the Trio Los Panchos when I mentioned our guests today. Of course, they are none other than, by seniority, Attorney Bono Adaza, who is launching or preparing to launch next year his candidacy to fight one of the oldest dynasties in the Mindanao politics, and our attorney Alan Pagia, who has been restored to his teaching profession just last year, and now doubling, tripling his cases of pro bono advocacies. So I'll ask our senior member of the panel today what Obama will be for the Philippines, a boom or a big bomb. Bono Adaza, before I ask you to report on what is happening in Mindanao. Bono.
Well, I don't think it really makes any difference what Obama will do in the Philippines. The difference is, what will happen is our relationship with the United States will continue as it is today. You know, our main problem is that we are captives on the level of the mind. And for many Filipinos, captives also on the level of the heart. And that's what's wrong with us. We should be able to think independently beyond the United States of America, their plans, their policies. Because the point is, even here in the Philippines, we have mock elections as to who should be elected in America, Romney or Obama. That's quite scandalous, you know. We have nothing to do with the elections in the United States except for the Phil-Americans who are there. But that's their business. And there is some pervading sense of disconnection in America today. The economy is at its lowest levels. Unemployment is great. There is hunger in the land. And they elect the man who is responsible for unemployment and the hunger. That's really strange, you know.
So essentially what Attorney Adaza is saying is nothing is going to change. Everything stays the same. Same old, same old. And I think Attorney Alan, on a very specific issue, has the same view. And this is the, what do we call it, the fraudulent relationship of the Philippines and America, particularly in the issue of the extradition treaty.
Yes.
Bono, Alan.
Yes. As we know, there is a 1994 RP-US extradition treaty where one country can demand the surrender of another based on the treaty. The problem is, under Article 20 of the treaty, And they've been implementing this treaty. Under Article 20 of the treaty, it says it will take effect upon the exchange of the instruments of ratification. And the ratification, according to Salonga and Yap, and Dean Vicente Cinco's classic work on political law, that ratification means ratification by the Senate. Except that in our Constitution and the U.S. Constitution, instead of ratification, they use the word concurrence. In other words, treaty, you use ratification, but in the Constitution, the word used is concurrence. In other words, what is required is Senate concurrence. In this particular RPUS treaty, there is no Senate ratification by the Philippines or by the U.S. because sa U.S. absolutely no instrument of ratification. Sa Philippines, you have the resolution number 11, which does not say compliance with the two-thirds or qualified majority requirement. So what I'm saying is, I told the court na there is no, it never took into effect where you're applying it. And then you know what effectively they're saying? Well, what can we do? The Supreme Court recognizes it, they implemented it. But this question has never been raised in the cases of Mark Jimenez, Glenn Dumlao, Michael Reaquino. We are not bound by those decisions. And the problem here is, it would be really embarrassing if the Supreme Court will now recognize that they have been implementing a treaty that actually never took effect.
Okay. Essentially, what we can conclude here is a schizoid Filipino character when it comes to relations with the U.S. There are these grand principles about independence, freedom, and so on, but in effect, we violate even our own Constitution just to comply with the desires or demands of the United States of America. That is what we see in this extradition treaty, where we have no substantial compliance with our Constitution, yet we continue to implement the
Not even compliance with the treaty itself. And what we are seeing here is a conspiracy between the public officials of America and the public officials of the Philippines, who try to implement it even if they have not complied with the conditions that they themselves stipulated. And they think they can correct mistakes by an exchange of unsigned note verbals. That cannot happen, because the mistake of the agent is not necessarily the mistake of the principal.
I'm going to take an economic perspective to this relationship and to the second Obama administration and say that many of our commentators in some of the newspapers are very wrong when they say a Democratic U.S. president or a U.S. president from the Democratic Party is always better for the Philippines and for Filipinos. Basically because they believe the impression that a Democratic president goes easier on immigration. But if immigration is really more lenient, that redounds to the benefit maybe of some individuals, but not the nation. The nation continues to be a market for American goods, American services, American loan shark activities like debt and so on. I say Obama will be Obama. He will be bombing us with economic bombs. Why? Because his fundamental mission is to help the American economy recover, create jobs in America, and that means they need to export more. And that means a strategic depreciation of the US dollar so that they can sell more and buy less from the rest of the world. And if they want to sell more, who's going to be the target? China is not going to be the target. China is going to start restricting trade and so on. They do not even allow any substantive depreciation of the yuan, as the revaluation of the yuan as the US wants. But here, we are doing nothing. The Brazilian finance minister has already charged the United States for engaging in currency war. E dito, our peso from 42 will be 39 by first quarter of next year. Imagine the impact on the peso income of the OFWs, business process outsourcing centers, the exporters. Millions of Filipinos will lose the conversion value of their dollar earnings to the peso. And that is going to cause a very dramatic contraction of the domestic economy, because kung walang pera ang tao, mabawasan ang pera ng tao, mababawasan ang mabibili nila, the rest of the economy will falter. Yeah, Bono, you were going to
No,
add.
I'd like to bring to the attention of our people the claim that you mentioned, not only on the level of the economics, but on the level even of visa granting. It has not improved with the Democratic Party. The visas granted to the United States is also the same ratio. The only thing that is the difference now is that there is no lining up from 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening. But the ratio of denial and granting of the visa remains the same. And if I were a leader of this country, I will demand what is known as the reciprocity and most favored nation clause. Remember that in the Second World War, 3 of these countries were enemies of the United States: Germany, Italy, and Japan. All their citizens entered the United States of America on an automatic visa of 59 days. Filipinos have to go through the whole rigmarole, pay $20 in order to be able to get a visa to the United States of America. Imagine the difference. So nothing will change. Even if Obama continues to be president and he belongs to the Democratic Party. Nothing.
Okay. Let me go back to Attorney Alan and back to the legal aspect. Anong epekto nitong tanggap natin nitong illegal na extradition practice? That's what I can call it, a practice, because I don't know what to call it if it's not really legal. They can demand as you say, the Philippines to surrender citizens and bring them to U.S. courts.
Like Daniel Smith, yes. But that is not even extradition yet. And that was declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. The fact that they took custody of Daniel Smith in the U.S. Embassy. But now nobody's interested because the complainant has already kept quiet. But the point is, this matter, these foreign relations, they strike deep into the heart of our sovereign nation. It's a question of derogation of sovereignty. It's a question of national dignity. Shall we assert our sovereignty or shall we surrender it like a bird that flies low?
Pero sasabihin ng mga tao, Attorney Alan, alam namin we would like to have that dignified position, Attorney Adasa, pero ang totoo, ang Pilipinas naman laging tinatapak-tapakan lang ng Estados Unidos. Sasabihin na, hindi ba kayo unrealistic? Tanggapin na lang natin.
Maganda yan, sinabi mo yan. Kasi kung pag-uusapan natin yung bagong halal na Pangulo ng Estados Unidos, si Obama, tandaan lang po natin, magmula kay Obama, paatras hanggang noong 1836, napakalaki ng utang ng Amerika, mas malaki sa utang ng Pilipinas. Sa isang bahagi lamang ng kasaysayan sa buong mundo ng isang bansang katulad ng Amerika ay nawala ng utang noong panahon ni President Andrew Jackson. Bakit sila nawala ng utang? Hindi pinayagan ng administrasyon ni Andrew Jackson yung Second Central Bank of the USA. Pero magmula noon, nung mawala na siya, hindi naging successful yung assassination attempt sa kanya, kumalat na lahat ng central bank sa buong mundo at magmula noon, wala nang bansa, wala nang mga sambayan ng tao na hindi nalugmok sa napakalaking utang at napakalaking interest.
Okay. Bono.
You know, it really depends on who will be the president of the country because it's the president who defines policies. Look at Brazil and Argentina. Brazil, heavily indebted also to the International Monetary Fund and to the World Bank. Brazil, under Luna said, no, we will not pay you.
No, they paid off early, actually. They paid off.
No, but later, when they really had indebtedness, they told these people, we are not going to pay you until our economy improves. The same case with Argentina. You know, no nation can be foreclosed. No nation. We cannot be foreclosed. All we need to do is to tell them, if I were head of government here, I will do better than Brazil and Argentina. You know what I'll do? I'll file charges in Philippine courts against the lenders together with the borrowers for plunder.
Well, the reality is, and that's the point I think of Attorney Alan, sovereignty is important, and Andrew Jackson asserted the sovereignty of the state of the United States against the powers of the bankers. But here, our finance secretary, our Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas officials, they're all too happy to get awards from the international finance magazines that are controlled by the Western powers. And so they do nothing about the strategic depreciation, the currency war that the U.S. is waging against the Filipinos today. And they're not even explaining it to the public. As you also
Mintong, as I
explained,
keep on stressing over and over again, our really problem here is to choose the right leader. Because the right leader will tell the guys of the central bank, hey, we define policy here. Your job is to implement policy. If you cannot do it, you resign or I'll fire you. That's what a new president should do.
Yeah.
Well, let's wait whether Pinoy can do
in
it.
fact, it's not only elections, but even constitutional commissions
Yes.
have really turned around the country to become a vassal state.
That is very important, what Bon said regarding public policy. When you violate public policy, it has the same effect as violating the law. When you violate public morals, it's the same effect with violating a law or public order. Why? Because the law says any violation of public order, the law, public policy, will be void from the beginning. And itong issue ng dynasty, political dynasty, the Constitution establishes as a matter of state policy that political dynasty shall be prohibited. That is the policy. Yung nilagay nilang as may be defined by law, that is only for purposes of determining which particular acts would be subjected to sanctions. Pero, if there is a political dynasty, there is already a violation of public policy. Now, sabi nila, walang definition ang political dynasty, but there is. You have the Black's Law Dictionary, they're defining it as a long line or group of influential family within the government for a considerable period of time. So what we're saying is, the Constitution has a meaning, has a plain meaning for the plain words that it uses, except that the definition required regarding the definition of law looks for the violation of law. You don't have to look for violation of law. As pointed out very scholarly by Bono here, violation of public policy is enough. It is already contrary to public interest.
And this is what I think is the same as the schizophrenic personality of the Filipino with regards to principles and policies. May policy pero gagawa ng paraan na hindi mangyari yan, o may pagbabawal na gagawa naman nila ng paraan na mangyari.
That's true. Like this. Mintong, I filed the case with the Supreme Court before to declare a failure of election
In 2010.
2010. The case is still pending in the Supreme Court. We are about to have another election in 2013 and the case remains pending thanks to the Corona Court. All right. Now, the chairman of the COMELEC is always saying about dynasty. He should focus, dynasty yes, but he should focus his attention to what will happen in the 2013 election because wherever you go in the Philippines today, you meet people saying that they are operating under instruction of some people in the COMELEC and the elections are for sale.
Today,
as a matter of fact, I talked with former Mayor Asistio. I talked with several people in the Visayas and also in Mindanao. He should do something about it. The COMELEC should do something about it. And the COMELEC should travel the straight road. Last November 6, I just came from a case in the COMELEC. And I was about to go down from the 8th floor. You know what happened? I thought they were transporting paper. By golly, it turned out to be lanzones from the governor of Camiguin for the chairman of the COMELEC. That's why they're happy now that with us having cases filed by the governor and his family, that probably the COMELEC will turn out to be a lanzones COMELEC. Okay. These are the things that should be looked into by Chairman Brillantes.
Well, speaking of dynasty and the elections, in relation to Obama, that election they really bombed. But the propaganda is trying to show that it's all so smooth and so efficient. That's not true. There is a continuous stream of complaints about the machine's performance in the different states. And that's not just coming, that's simply not coming out in the media here. Because the media here, a great many of the papers and outlets are treated very well by the Smartmatic wealth that came from the people's tax money. We'll go to Atty. Alan Pagia.
Yeah, tama yung sinasabi ni Bono na the COMELEC should begin the clean up so that they will have credibility. Because what we need, what the people need are officers who will be elected credibly, not by computer will, but by the sovereign will. Now, how credible is the COMELEC? The most famous election case I know is the Hello Garci tape. It was filed in 2007. The chairman now is the former counsel of Fernando Po Jr., the victim of that Hello Garci controversy. What happened to that? So, what is the COMELEC telling the Filipino people? Never mind if you have a big sensational case, we can sit on it. That doesn't give a good impression of what you will do in the coming elections. Why? Because if this is how you treat cases that are so blatant, so brazen, and you don't do anything about it, then we can expect more of it in the next election.
And this is a thing I must report to the public. This has come out before that some party list applicants are protesting because they're being asked for 5 million peso entrance fee to be accredited. Well, let me say, and I cannot cite the person, but I can cite the organization. The Magdalo has been applying for party list accreditation. They have 175,000 card-carrying members. They've been organizing. We all know that they have been in existence for years, and they are really dedicated people trying to do something for change. But they're now having difficulty getting their party list accredited because they've been asked for 5 million and they absolutely refuse to come across. And they consider this as a test case. What Brillante says, maybe in the M-Bank, you can try to persuade the other members of the M-Bank. Why should a party list persuade? They just follow the rules. Let the M-Bank follow the rules. Let the screening committee follow the rules. But no. So this Brillantes, I interpret to be a very brilliant fraud until he can change the course of events in the COMELEC.
You know the danger here, Mentong, really is. This has been talked about before Brillantes. It's being talked about now that for you to be accredited as party list, you have to cough up with 5 million. No, Brillantes should start screening.
That's right.
He should know his ears and his eyes as to who are the sources of this information that there is demand. And he should know also, as of now, you travel all over the country. There are people saying that you can get the election lock, stock, and barrel by just buying the election. Now, he should see to it that these people should be ferried out from the COMELEC and from its other allied organizations. As a matter of fact, in the province where I come from, the PICOS machine is known as the TICAS machine. TICAS meaning cheating machine. You know, example in Cagayan de Oro, example in Camiguin, example in Samar, example in Surigao.
Antipolo.
Why don't they Antipolo? Why don't they look into this? Yeah. Now, probably because the Supreme Court is left on that 2010 case, maybe the amendments by the COMELEC of the law will again be followed.
Has the Supreme Court ruled on your petition regarding the 2010 election?
Not yet. Okay. Now, I will write a communication or a motion to the new Chief Justice. Maybe it will be acted upon, no? And we are asking for arguments because our petition is supported by technical experts. Like they amended the law by removing the UV lamps so that the fake ballots could be used.
Yes.
And contrary to the claim of Smartmatic that the machine cannot be penetrated, openly it was penetrated.
Before we take our
During
break,
the hearing.
Attorney Alan.
Again, that will be an issue on sovereignty because the electoral process is the most direct form of sovereignty, exercise of sovereignty. Now, as to the credibility of the COMELEC, you will remember that one of the new appointees was charged with criminally, and the bail was paid for by the president,
Yes, yes.
and was
Tipada ka.
accompanied by Mar Rojas. I think the legal advisors of this gentleman failed to advise them na, you're not protecting the COMELEC, gain more prestige by losing the appearance of the impartiality of a neutral judge.
That's right. Well, we'll get back to that point after this break. Ang kolong nga ni Ata dyan will